Okay, welcome to the part 2 of practical number 7, that is configure iOS Intrusion Prevention System using the CLI. iOS stands for Internet Networking Operating System. So we just have to implement here IPS system on router number R1. Okay, so here the scenario and objectives are clear that we have to enable the iOS, that is Internet Networking Operating System IPS system. We also have to configure the logging because we have configured one server here, okay, where the logging will happen. We have done the same thing in practical number 1, so we just have given a name to that server as a system log, and we have to make sure that logging services are on. How to do that? You just have to click on the server, go to services tab and click on syslog, and you will see by default it is on only. Okay, close this. Coming back to this, so your task is to enable the IPS on R1, okay, on this router. On the left hand side you all can see, okay, to scan everything which coming inside to the toward this end, okay, this network, that is 192.168.1.0 network. So the server labeled syslog is used to log the IPS messages that we have to do, and let's see how to configure it. So let's start with the part 1 here in this practical, like this enable the iOS IPS. So first thing we have to do, like we have to check the version of the on the router and see like whether the technology package have been installed or not. So if you come here on the router R1, okay, exit from configuration mode, okay, you are in now privilege mode, and fire the command called show version. Click on more, click on enter till the last table you will see. Of course, now you all can see in the second row of this table security it is mentioned none, none and none. So for that now you have to install the security package. So for that the command is this, like this license boot module C1900 technology package security K9. Okay, we have done this part in the previous practicals also, so we'll do it again. So I'll just copy this command, I'll come to the router. Okay, we have to get ourselves into configuration mode, conf t, and then right click and paste it, the command. Okay, it will ask us to accept the license terms and agreement. I'll just click say y for yes and enter. Okay, it's done. Okay, but still you don't have to actually proceed here. Okay, there are 2 more commands you have to fire, otherwise you will get the error with this practical. Okay, what are those? Basically we have to reload this router. Okay, for that there are 2 more commands we have to do, because what happens I'll show you. If I exit from here and if I again fire the command show version, okay, keep on clicking enter till the last table appears, and you will still see that security like current type is none, type is again none. Okay, you can see that package is available, okay, but you can see none mentioned here. So for that what you have to do, in privilege mode you have to just fire this 2 command, like this copy run start enter. Okay, and then again click enter. Okay, building the configuration. Okay, and one last command for this setting is reload, and it will ask us confirm, click enter. So after it gets loaded, I'll again fire the show version command. Let's see, let's try again. Enable, it is asking for the password because I have just enabled the password here. So that was Cisco 1 in my case. We are back in privilege mode. So I'll just type show version, enter, and I'll go to the last details, and you will see that in security row now current and type settings are visible. Okay, so now we are good to go. Now let's start with the practical. Now first thing what we have to do, verify the network connectivity, that you should be able to ping from PCC to PCA and from PCA to PCC. So let me minimize, like from this network to this network and from this network back to this network. So let's go to PCA. Okay, go to command prompt, type ping, and I remember the IP address of the PCB was in the practical. Of course they have just given the name PCC, but it is okay. Let's avoid the confusion, I'll also rename it PCC only. So we just have to ping from PCA to PCC. So I'll go to PCA, command prompt, ping 192.168.3.2. That was the IP address of the PCC. Click enter and wait for the success message. Yeah, we are getting the reply. You all can see the successful ping is happening here. Okay, from PCA to PCC. Similarly, we have to verify from PCC to PCA. Let's go to PCC, go to command prompt, ping 192.168.1.2. that was the IP address, and we are getting the reply here. Okay, so this part is done. Now let's start with the create an iOS IPS configuration directory in the flash. For that we have to come to the router, click on the router R1. Okay, we are in privilege mode. I'll just open this PDF parallelly and have this router on the left hand side, and you will see that I'm firing all the commands given in the practical here. So we have to get ourselves into privilege mode. We are already in privilege mode, so we have to, first thing we have to do that is creating a directory with the name called IPS directory. That is the short form they have given, that is mkdir IPS dir. Enter, and then it is asking you have to confirm it by clicking enter. Done. Then you have to fire this command that to configure the IPS signature storage location to be that directory you just created. So for that we have command this, that is IPS config location flash colon IPS dir. Enter. Okay, something wrong has happened. Of course, we are firing this command in privilege mode, but we are supposed to fire this command in configuration mode. So we have to go to configuration mode now. So we are now in configuration mode. Now I'll just copy the command from here, copy it, right click and paste it here. Okay, it's done. Now create an IPS rule. So on R1 create an IPS rule name using the IPS name command. You can see that we have to create a rule naming giving a name iOS IPS. So for that the command is IPS name iOS and IPS. That's the name we are giving to that rule. Okay, now we have to enable the logging, that is iOS and iOS IPS supports the use of Syslog. Okay, Syslog service is already on. You all can see we have the server here. So now we have to enable the logging that iOS supports the use of Syslog to send event notification. Syslog notification is enabled by default. If logging console is enabled, IPS Syslog messages display. We will see. So let's enable by this command, that is IPS notify log. Enter. Okay. Scroll down. Meanwhile, I'll just minimize this window. I'll go to Syslog. Okay, go to services tab, go to Syslog. Here you will be able to see now messages coming from R1. Okay, coming from the IPS which we have enabled the service on the router R1. Okay, now it is blank. Let's close this, coming back to router R1 and coming back to this practical. You can skip this step, that is if necessary use the clock set command, but it is not necessary. So let's go ahead and verify that the timestamp service for the logging is enabled. So for that we have to fire this command, that the service timestamp log date time milliseconds. Copy it, come back here on the router, paste it, enter. Okay, and then send the log messages to the Syslog server. The logging host will be that server. We have given the 1.50 I guess the IP address to the server. So we'll just making a router aware that there is a Syslog server and that's a logging host for us, and the IP address we are giving is 192.168.1.50. that is a server's IP address, and then click enter. We can still verify the IP address. You can go to Syslog, you can go to the desktop IP configuration, you will see the IP address we have given is 1.50. Close. Coming back to router, coming back to PDF. Okay, fine. So this part is done here. Step number 6 is done. Again, if we go ahead and check on the Syslog server, services tab, Syslog tab option, still there is no messages have been here. Okay, let's see if something will happen or something will cross by R1. Of course, everything will get locked, not locked down, logged on the Syslog server. Okay, so let me close this first and go to router R1. Okay, let's configure the iOS IPS to use the signature categories. Okay, for that we have got this steps, so I'll quickly fire this. Okay, so we are specifying the signatures. Okay, like which particular message or packet type has to get logged. Okay, we are registering the signatures so that IPS will pay attention over the signatures. So let's go to this steps. Let's get ourselves back into configuration mode and copy this command, right click and paste IPS signature category, and you will get yourself into configuration IPS category mode. That is, now we have to fire category all. Okay, so now we have to take the action. We are asking that all the signature has to get retired first. Okay, means whatever signature it has already by default, remove it. Okay, and then exit. Now we have to specify like which signature we want. We want to have a category of iOS, that is interconnected operating system underscore IPS. So this is the basic we want signatures we want to have it. Okay, so there was double underscore, sorry, so I'll fire it again. I'll remove one underscore from here, yeah, and enter. Then we are back in configuration IPS category action. So we are asking not to retire any signature, retired false, and then exit, and again exit, and then confirm. Okay, so this part is done, and finally apply the IPS rule to an interface. Okay, we can see like we wanted to restrict, or we don't wanted to actually restrict, but we wanted to implement the IPS system on this network. Okay, through this router. So of course this interface is which is the interface which is connected, okay, towards this network, that is gigabit 00. So we have to configure, we have to apply that rule to that interface. So for that we have to get ourselves into interface configuration interface mode. So I'll just mention the interface giga, that is G0/0 in our case. So we are in configuration interface mode, and just we have to fire this command, that is IPS iOS IPS. That was a rule we made and name was given to that, if you remember. See, iOS IPS. Okay, so I'm applying the rule towards out. Okay, like towards this network. Which network? This network, not incoming, towards out. Okay, towards this particular network, 192.168.1.0, this network. Okay, now click on enter. So now it's done. So now part 1 is done. We'll come to the part 2, that is modify the signature. All the verification steps are there in the last. So let's exit from this mode. We are back in the configuration mode. Now we have to change the event action of the signature, like unretire the echo request signature, enable it, and change the signature action to alert and drop. So I'll just copy this command, IPS signature definition, paste it, enter, then signature 2004 right click, paste it, then status we want to configure, we have to retired false, we want to have it, the D was missing. Okay, and then enabled true, and then exit, and then we have to get back into engine signature engine mode. Okay, and then we have to fire this command, that is event action produce alert. I'm copying it, pasting it here, and then event action deny the packet inline, and you will see the output. So we are denying the packet inline. Okay, incoming packet towards it. We'll see that which incoming packet it will be getting denied. Sorry. So we are done with this settings. Event action has been set. Deny the packet inline. Now exit, exit and exit thrice. Okay, confirm, enter. We are back in configuration mode now. Okay, if you want to see like all the settings have been done, so you have to fire this command like this: show IP IPS all. So exit from configuration mode, get yourself into privilege mode and fire this command: show IP IPS all. Okay, you will see all the information, okay, which you have just set, the rules, the policy, and how the IPS will enable and log the message. Everything is here. Now let's verify that the IPS is working properly. So for that we have to ping from PCC to ping PCA, and the ping should fail actually. Okay, let's see, let's minimize this, let's minimize this also from PCC. So I'm trying to ping now PCA, okay, which I did before. So I'll just have this command ping 192.168.1.2 and enter. We were getting the reply successfully before, but now you all can see ping is unsuccessful. Because IPS we have installed here on the router R1 is not allowing the echo packet to go inside this network. Okay, so let's close this. The next thing we have to verify that from PCA attempt to PCC and it should be successful. Means from here we can go to PCC and the packet should be allowed from this router IPS system which we have installed here on the R1. So let's go to PCA, let's go to command prompt and fire the ping command to that PCC and wait, and we are getting the reply here successfully. And the last part what we have to see, that we have to see that Syslog Messages has to appear on that server. So let's close this, let's close this, let's go to Syslog server, go to service tab, go to Syslog, and you will see all the messages here have been logged by the router. The IP address of the router was 192.168.1.1. So that's it from this practical.
That's all guys from this video. If you really like this video, press like button and do subscribe to our channel. If any queries or suggestions, do comment below. For more such updates, follow us on Instagram and Facebook.